Hello students, I am Anshu Batra, TGT English from KV number 1, Itanagar. Today I am there with you to study a short and sweet poem, The Squirrel, which is written by Mildred Bowers Armstrong. And her image you can see in the slide. She was born in 1901 and died in 1984. Her first volume of poetry was Twist of Smoke. And you know, students, this poetry won Yale Younger Poets Prize. So, she has written this poetry. So, first of all, we will recite this poem and also we will enjoy the poem by singing it in rhythm. He wore a caution mark for tail and overcoat of gray. He walked up straight to eat a nut. He liked to tease and play. And if he ran around his tree, he ran the other way. He wore a caution mark for tail and overcoat of gray. He sat up straight to eat a nut. He liked to tease and play. And if he ran around his tree, he ran the other way. Hey students, did you like it? So come on, now you also try it, okay? But now we will learn how to recite the poem, okay? He wore a question mark for tail, an overcoat of grey. He sat up straight to eat a nut. He liked to tease and play. And if we ran around his tree, he went the other way. So, dear students, please recite the poem at home. Okay, now we will see first the introduction of the poem, and then after we will see the summary of the poem. Okay, students. The poetess has drawn the living picture of Squirrel in the following ways. First, we will see the description of Squirrel, how the poet has presented in the poem. The squirrel is wearing a grey overcoat with 3 white strips on its body. He has a beautiful tail which looks like a colorful question mark. And students, can you see the diagram? The squirrel is eating something. And what does the squirrel eat? What does the squirrel love to eat? Do you know? Yes, the squirrel loves to eat nuts. So you can see how the squirrel looks here and how the poetess has tried to present the beauty of squirrel. The squirrel is wearing a grey overcoat means overcoat how? How we wear the overcoat no during winter season. So you can also see the squirrel's body is also covered with fur no which is grey in color. So this is the overcoat of squirrel. That means the outer fur, the cover of the fur on its body. Okay, students? And one more thing. In this poem, the poetess notes the squirrel very carefully. And the poetess says that the tail of squirrel looks like a question mark. Now, secondly, what does the poetess describe about the squirrel? The poetess describes about the teasing and playing of a squirrel, which is written from black color as a heading. Can you see, students? So let's see what the poetess notices about the squirrel's teasing and playing. The poetess says that the squirrel likes teasing and playing. If anyone runs round the tree to catch him, he will change the direction immediately. So, students, understood? The squirrel is also very naughty like you all, right? The poetess notices that the squirrel likes to tease and play. Now, what is teasing here, students? Teasing means to make fun of somebody in a playful way. So, what happens when the poetess goes, or if anyone goes round the tree where the squirrel is sitting, and when anyone tries to catch the squirrel runs very quickly. If you have seen the squirrel, do you know how much quick, brisk, and fast the squirrel is? Right? Okay, students. Now we will see the summary of this poem. In the poem, the poetess describes a squirrel that she observes in her garden. The poet describes how the squirrel, covered in grey fur, sits in an upright position on a tree branch eating nuts. His tail looks like a question mark because of its bent shape. The happy and lively squirrel loves to play with the poet and her friends. Whenever they ran around his tree, he would run to the other side of the tree. The poet tells us about the nature of the squirrel, that it is innocently naughty and likes to tease anyone who comes near him. So this is the summary of the poem. Dear students, I want to tell you some correction. In second line, where he observes in her garden written, you please correct he and write there she. Okay? And I want to tell you that though this poem is written by a female poet, you can call her poet or poetess as you wish. Okay? Now, let's see about the poetic devices. Now, you might be thinking, what are poetic devices? Students, poetic devices are used to create rhythm, mood, and beauty of a poem. And these are the technical parts of the poem. And you are enough big now to discuss about them. That's why I have presented these poetic devices in my video. So let's discuss the poetic devices. As you can see, the first poetic device in this poem is personification. What is personification? Personification is used to personify non-living thing or other creatures as humans. Means, in easy way, if I tell you, in personification what happens? We use such words for non-living things or small creatures which actually we use for human beings. Okay? Like in this poem, you have seen that the poet or the poetess has used he word for the squirrel. But actually, do you know, students, for a squirrel, we should use it. But we have used he here. Why? Because here we are giving much importance to squirrel. We are personifying squirrel, right? The poetess has given so lively image of a squirrel. And so she has considered the squirrel a person, right? So here the poetess has used he for squirrel. That's why personification is there in this line. Got it? Now, your second poetic device is rhyme scheme. Okay, students, rhyme scheme. What is it? It is the ordered pattern of rhymes at the end of a poem, right? It is represented by A, B, C, D, E, etc. And they are labeled according to their rhyme sounds. Okay, students? If I go back to the poem and see the last words of each line, I get a particular pattern, right? Like if I see the last word of first line, I get tail. So I will represent it with the letter A. Now if I see the last word of second line, I find gray. So gray is not rhyming with tail. So I will represent it by the letter B. In this way, when I see the last word of third line, it is nut. Is it rhyming with tail? No. Is it rhyming with gray? No. So I will represent it with which letter? I will represent it with C. Now, if I see the fourth line's last word, it is play. So, students, is play rhyming with some other words? Yes, play is rhyming with the last word of second line, which is gray. So, students, what letter we have used to represent gray? B. Yes, we have used B for gray. So, we will use B to represent play also. That's why fourth line's last word play will be represented by B. Now, fifth line's last word is tree. So it is not rhyming with anyone. So we will give it the name D. And last line's last word is way, which is rhyming with gray, play, and their name is B. They are represented by B. So we will represent way also with B. So in this way, the rhyme scheme of your poem is AB, CB, DB. Students, for taking out the rhyme scheme, you please take the poem in front of you. Get the book opened and then listen my video. Then you will be able to find out the rhyme scheme. So these were the poetic devices. Now I have presented some short questions and their answers for you. And in the very next slide, I have also presented for you the question answers from your prescribed NCERT book. So students, please read them and get the answers and study from the video and like and subscribe the video if you liked it. Thank you very much.